right, so welcome to the workshop, Do More with Less, as we've all been impacted with budget cuts. And if we haven't, chances are it's coming soon. My name is Lisa, and then we have the Gregory Event Services team on here, and we're going to brainstorm ways to get more ROI for your team in 2023. We have categories, and our team did a brainstorm. This is going to be collaborative though, so we're actually going to go into a spreadsheet. I know we all love those. You can color code if that's your jam, and brainstorm together. We'll float our ideas in there too. There's time to chat about stuff. We have a whole hour. If we end early, we end early. This is your guys' time. But first, there's a few people who just joined. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and let the team know on the call where you're joining from and where you're working, or if you're looking for work. Oscar, that was funny. You're like, woo.
Whoa, I did not expect this many people. Hello.
Yeah, we had quite the registration for this, so that's great. And then we'll go ahead and get started. So for today's agenda, I'm going to have the GES team introduce themselves, and then we're going to review the pre-work, because I think that pre-work was really, really informative. The number one takeaway that I loved was that even if there was layoffs at your organization, it hasn't impacted you yet. So that, I think, gives a nice round of applause, because that is usually not the case. So first off, I'll go. I'm Lisa Gregory. I've worked with a lot of you, but it's so great to see some new faces. I do consider myself someone who's very good at saving clients money, because I've worked in nonprofit for a long time. Also, if you've worked in startups, you know it's pretty much like working for a nonprofit sometimes, because your budgets go woo, and then all of a sudden they get slashed. And it's sort of that on repeat. So I used to plan 75 trade shows globally. My budget was $4 million. And then all of a sudden other budgets in other teams maybe weren't managed as well. So my budget was hammered every year. And then I worked on the nonprofit side a ton, and also anywhere from major corporate, whatever. So pretty much everything. And then I'll go ahead and have Claire introduce herself.
Hey everyone, I'm Claire Massey. I'm the Director of Events at Gregory Event Services. I've been with Lisa and team for working on my third month now. So it's been really a fun ride so far, and I've really enjoyed all of the clients we get to work with. It's a lot of fun. Previously, I was at the Linux Foundation, and before that, the Open Infra Foundation, which used to be known as the OpenStack Foundation. So I've held different program management roles and event management roles over there. So anyway, lots of open source experience, but excited to be here.
Lovely.
That's all for me.
Yeah. Claire's also had a variety of different hats. She's worked on a variety of different types of events and marketing and community building and stuff like that. So she'll have some really good insight. And then I'll have Megan go next.
Oh my gosh. Hi, I'm Megan. I've been working with Lisa since summer of 2021. I was introduced to Lisa via Carly, who most of you, or at least a lot of you know. Her and I have worked together previously, and through COVID at my previous job kind of started getting stuck with events, because the events team there just couldn't be bothered. So I figured, well, why would I work somewhere and do events and get paid very little when I could just go work with Lisa and do events exclusively and travel and be a lot happier. So that's what I'm doing. I am mostly on the logistics side, trade booth stuff, swag, and I'm getting more into the marketing and strategy. Actually, almost just said strategery. So that's the kind of day I'm having. But I know I've met a lot of you, worked with some of you. I'm excited to get to know you guys more in the coming year.
And Megan is our swag specialist. So I know she doesn't like to take that hat, but she really is. So we're going to do an upcoming webinar actually on swag specifically to give you guys some fun insights into that. And we have some webinar actually podcasts coming for the whole year. So we'll share that in the Event Professionals Network if you aren't already in there. And then we have Miss Mia.
Hi, everyone. I know I've met some of you, but for those of you who don't know, my name is Mia. I met Lisa at my previous job at NS1, where I actually worked with Nancy as well. Yeah, after that opportunity ended, I decided to come on full-time with Lisa, and it's been a really great ride so far. I love events and working on all different types of events. And my background is working in startups, so I'm very familiar with not having a lot of money and having a lot of producing a lot of impact with that money. So yeah, I'm excited to work with you all, hear your ideas on how we can maximize our budgets for this upcoming year. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice, thanks, Mia. And these are your kind of workshop leaders. We're gonna have folks pulling stuff from the chat. I'm going to share a spreadsheet here with you guys in just a sec, and we're going to basically throw a million ideas into a spreadsheet and then talk about some of those ideas and iterate on some of those ideas. And then I will share all of this with you. So first, let me actually pull up the pre-work and we will take a look. Has everybody filled out the pre-work? Yes. Most of you have, I think. Oops. I closed my too many tabs. Hold on. Let's try this one. Nope. You guys probably have the same problem. There we go. Okay, so just in case you haven't done the pre-work, I am going to send the survey here and put it in the chat. And you guys are welcome. You don't have to, it's totally optional, but I think it's just helpful because it gives everybody some additional stats. So here's the pre-work, and then I'll provide this to everybody afterwards. Looks like we have 16 responses so far. So I'm going to pull this over, and you are not required to put your company name. So if you don't want people to see, totally fine. All right. Okay. So for employee count, I just thought that'd be kind of interesting so you know like what size startup everybody's at. So we've got a variety of different sizes represented on this call, which is excellent because we'll have a flow of different ideas. For your events team, we do a variety of different sizes of events teams as well. So most is just you, but we do have some that have more than that. How large is your marketing team? Again, totally a different variety, which I love to see because we'll provide, again, more perspectives. On the budget cuts, we had 62.5% of you said yes. 18.8 have said no, so you haven't been impacted yet. And then we had 18.8 say not yet, but likely. And as far as the budget cuts go, it's kind of all over the place. So I see that $1 million mark. We've actually had several clients be kind of had that 1 million impact. Some are just 100,000, some are 60K. It's kind of all over the board. The percentages are kind of nice too. To see. So 90% of the total budget. Wow, that's a lot. 50%. It's hard to hit your goals when you don't have as much money, which is why we're meeting. And then has your lead goal been reduced to reflect these cuts? So a lot of you have said no. One has said they've gone up, and a few have said yes, they have been reduced, which is great, which means you have probably good management. So lucky for you. Number of events planned in 2022. This data is a little bit harder to see in this format. So I'm actually going to move to the spreadsheet. All right. Let me wrap this really quick. All right, so we are right here. And if you can see the comparison here, I'm going to just like that. There we go. For number 2, 2022, you can see the numbers right here. I'll highlight those in yellow. So you can kind of see the side-by-side comparison. And then I'll highlight these in green. So whoever this was got karate chopped pretty big. We have some people who are doing more, which is great to see. It's interesting how the economy has been hit post-COVID. So this is kind of some interesting stats. This is about 50% here, just a little bit. Somebody's going balls to the walls and doing a lot of events, so that's great. Someone's doing a nice combination of virtual and in person, so that'll be great to kind of talk with whoever that is on why they decided to do that. So if you're willing to talk, do you want to kind of, I don't know if you're on this call, is that person who is doing the 52 in-person, 15 virtual, are you on the call? No? Okay, no worries. You can also hide too. You don't have to say who you are. I don't want to put you on the spot. All right, so 18 to 7, and then we have 23 to 31 plus. So that's pretty interesting. Stats there. Have or will you postpone or move your events in 2023? I'm going to go out a little bit so you can see. Some are saying yes, it's about 50-50 on that. Yes and no. Will you pivot your in-person to virtual? A lot of people, I was expecting this to be a lot higher, but a lot of people said no, they're not doing virtual, which was pretty interesting stat and good to know. Has your company experienced layoffs? I think we can move back to this status here. Here we go. In the last 3 months, about 50% of you said yes, about 40% said no, and there's a little bit of sliver saying it was on the recruiting team only. This was, again, my favorite one. So did layoffs increase your personal or team workload? A lot of you said no, which I think is really great. It's pretty common for layoffs to be in sales. So it's good that marketing's not being as impacted. Okay, so we do have some ideas here that have popped in. Do you have ideas or questions you want to make sure are discussed? So here's a few items. Claire, if you could keep me honest, I'll make sure we cover these. Other virtual events besides drink tasting, meetups, and sponsorships. One, Claire, that we should mention is lightning talk events. So the quick, I don't know if anybody's done that, but the quick 10-15 minute lightning talks. What are some cost-effective ways to get more out of an event outside of the event? Running a lunch or, visiting local clients, how to stand out from the crowd, but spend less. Sponsorship opportunities available when you aren't sponsoring the booth, speaking engagements, etc. Claire, if you want to write social campaigns and a website, so I remember to talk about that. There's totally a way to have a strategy wrapped around doing events that you are not sponsoring. So if you aren't doing that yet, you can go back and teach your team how to do that. Okay. Ideas for creating an epic experience with less money. You're definitely going to cover that. Are we seeing sponsorship costs increase? 100% across the board, about 20% on everything. Food and beverage, your sponsorship costs, everything is more expensive. And I would add, or let your managers know, even though they've decreased your budget, everything is 20% more. Bummer, especially to be happening this year. Any tips you can share for being effective with staffing in a booth? Limited demo time. Try to avoid your 20-minute demo, crazy people. But yes, we can go through that. Claire, if you could add that to the list, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, and this is going to be one of the things we're recommending, is sending smaller teams into shows. But of course, we don't want to negatively impact people. So we'll talk about that. What project management tool people are using. Asana. Everyone use Asana. It's the best one. What project manage? Oh, and then swag items with a minimal global footprint, or are people still handing out swag at shows? Let's talk about that. Do you think you have to have a presence at an event, or just because your competitors are there? Oh, well, I would say if your competitors are there, it depends on the landscape, but we can talk about that. If it's a very much a tight, like they're choosing between you and one other, probably yes, I would recommend that you're there. I would love to hear more about targeting specific decision makers with customer or prospect dinners, strategy around purchasing tickets for trade shows, walking the floor with your team versus having a stand. Ooh, that's a good one. And would also love to have a brief discussion on AWS summits. Is if everybody's not in the Event Professionals Network, let me provide a link to that Slack so you guys can all join. We do have a AWS Summits room in there where we're chatting about all of this. So I will put it in here. If you're not in, definitely join.
I think an idea for a future webinar workshop would be one just on the AWS summits, because I think that's an event that a lot of us are doing.
Yep. 100%. All right. Is there a way folks can come together to try to combat being on the wait lists or ancillary events around summits we could partner on? For partnerships, that all takes place in that Slack. So you guys are welcome to do passport programs, joint parties, everything can go in there. We often say, hey, so-and-so wants to plan a party. We have room for 3 other partners. And then we try to make sure there's no competitors and stuff like that. But usually everybody talks about that and you can join in. That will majorly impact your leads. If you're just very lead driven this year, doing parties and sharing the cost with other people is going to be huge for you. Let's see. So I will read this for thanks for another time, but we're going to keep going. Anything else that people want to talk about that they didn't have a chance to put in the pre-work? You can either put it in the chat or you can come off video. I double dare ya. Hi, Jessica. Okay, you don't have to be shy. We're all event planners. I know most of us are extroverts. All right. Okay, so this is where we get into the brainstorming. I'm going to go ahead and share the brainstorm tracker. Okay, so go ahead and open that up. And then we're basically going to take probably 5 minutes and each dump in a bunch of ideas for trade shows. I'm going to dump in a bunch of ideas. Gregory Event Services team, I'm going to go through what our brainstorm is. But if you guys have additional ideas, like we didn't really brainstorm too much on internal events. So that would be great if you guys could go in there. So first we're going to start on trade shows, ways to make impact, save money, streamline your staffing, basically anything. So I'm seeing 10 people in there, and it's okay if you're listening. There's Melissa. So start dropping ideas. If this is perfect, I don't know who the anonymous rhino is, but don't start at the top. Kind of go random, because otherwise you're going to be writing over somebody else's stuff. Meow. Perfect. So kind of pick a section, and then I will sort when you're done, and I'll push everything to the top. Welcome, Melissa. We're just kicking off a brainstorm. with ideas of fun ways to do impact and trade shows. And then after everybody starts putting their ideas in there, we're going to review them as a team, and then we'll do the next kind of categories. If you have something burning under a section and you just have to drop it in, there's no rules here. You can jump to another section if you need to. All right, so I'm going to turn on some music because why not? And set a timer for 5 minutes. Can you hear the music? No? Okay. Let's see. Yeah. I wrote this down. And Claire, if you could go through and see if there's any repeats and try to take the repeats out.
Okay.
We have about 2 more minutes left. Okay. How was that? Good. It was fun seeing all those ideas go in there. Power in numbers. Yes. Love it. Great. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and sort this. Oh, some people are still working in there. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to clean it up just a little bit. Looks like some people are still in there doing their thing, which is fine. Just to kind of give everybody, so it's a little bit stacked. Okay. So we're going to go trade shows first. Mia, do you want to go over this first one for trade shows? So I'm not the only human talking.
Sure. So first, staffing. Try to go in with a smaller team, and then really research when staffers need to fly in. Oftentimes people come in too early or leave too late, and when they don't need to. And then schedule AM and PM shifts like normal, but have an entire shift come in later and the other depart earlier. So that goes along with that point before, and then try to go with local staff first.
Perfect. Any questions about staffing? It's a big one. It's a big budget impact, especially if flights and hotel food come out of your budget.
I have a question here actually. When you, I don't know about you guys, but for myself, for staffing, I have to agree with the sales director. How do you guys work through that? Or is it just you decide, that's it, boom, done?
So we usually partner with sales. Is the money coming out of your budget or sales budget?
Everything event related is marketing or my budget, but then the salespeople, booking, traveling, everything is through the sales budget.
Hold on just a second. I'm gonna let my dogs out because they're gonna start barking. Hold on just a second.
Oscar, I also work for a large org, and while I partner with the sales consultants and the sales org, ultimately it is your event and it's up to you. You know what you need to successfully execute this event and hit your lead numbers. Sales may have other ideas. I struggle with having sales staff in the booth because they aren't dedicated to the messaging of the booth. They're on calls, they're meeting people, they're running into old friends. So I sometimes hold a hard line with sales, like this is who I need in the booth and to execute this event and hit our goals. And sometimes I just have to hold that hard line. Sometimes sales in the booth aren't the best staffers.
Yeah. And I guess that's while we're waiting, just a follow-up question then. I mean, how many of you actually go to the events? So I am more of a sales background, transitioning to marketing, and I kind of transitioned because I kind of stopped wanting to go to events, kind of stopped wanting to travel. But it really feels like you kind of have to go to a lot of the events to really make sure that everything is followed to the planning that you kind of set out beforehand.
Yeah, no one else is going to care about your lead numbers as much as you.
Yeah, I'm also a control freak, so
Quote. I gotta quote that. Okay.
Yeah, if you work with a booth vendor, you can usually assign someone there to make sure everything looks as you planned. Otherwise, try to find someone on your team who you trust with your same level of precision, high expectations to make sure everything goes well.
Who cares about your leads the way you care about them?
and
Exactly.
and Oscar, one thing I've found success with, because historically I've been the same of like, I don't want salespeople in my booth. But I would say if you have like a BDR or SDR team, typically that gets sales involved. Maybe you like if you have an AE whose region the event is in, maybe the AE can be there. But to your point, Tracy, yeah, they're always stepping out to take calls, things like that. You can't really rely on them to be in the booth. Whereas I found it's easier to get the SDRs to, again, with those half day shifts, like if they're out of pocket for half day, that's not as big a deal as if you're taking an AE off of, or, out of commission for a time. And then sales is still involved. A lot of the times too, the SDRs or BDRs are the ones following up with the leads after the event. So that kind of helps things as well. So yeah, maybe just a solution if you're having a hard time getting AEs or other more senior sales folks to go to events.
Yeah, historically, that's kind of what we've seen the model that works the best, but in my current company, we don't have any. So that's what makes it a little bit tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything everybody said. If it's your budget and you're accountable for the numbers, your manager, I would encourage them to support you to make those final decisions.
I
Tough.
feel empowered. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Next one, Claire, you want to take this one?
Sure, just partnering up with other companies to split the costs and the manpower and all of that. So I think that's a great idea. And of course, ancillary events and all of that is the place to do it. It's a little bit dicier when it comes to the actual booth presence, but with all the different add-on things, definitely get your partner network activated and doing things together.
Yeah, if you don't have that list of who your partner should be, that will help you kind of push the right conversations with your customers on site, work with your BD team to get that and put that in your spreadsheet for sure. And again, the Event Professionals Network should be able to connect you. Most of your partner companies are in there. And if not, and you need the link, just LinkedIn me or send me an email and I'll share it with you. We have found that if you're like a new startup and you just need leads and you're just wanting to collect as much as possible, having a booth and doing a party is super impactful. Oftentimes we get way more leads for a party than anything else. It's just, are those the right leads? Because you're having, what kind of conversations you're having. So if you are a more mature company and you are looking for the right conversations, parties might not be as good. It just kind of depends on what type of leads and conversations and everything your team is doing. There's a lot more ancillary events than just parties as well. The booth crawl is a great idea for partners, but just I would always limit it to not very many partners. Otherwise, people get sprawled and it's hard for folks to participate. Megan, do you have any other partner ideas, or did we cover it all?
No, that seems pretty, wow, blanked on that word. That's it.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
Great. Megan, do you want to go to the next one, line 4?
Negotiating, asking for a discount. I personally have not been super successful with that, but I'm always on the side of ask. The worst they can say is no. Especially I've had more success negotiating if you have a bigger booth, like if you're a platinum or diamond sponsor somewhere where you're investing a lot more, I think you have a little more leverage to be like, hey, we dropped $100,000 here. Can I have one more pass? But I would encourage you to always ask. It's, again, the worst they can say is no, and you may annoy them a little bit, but who cares?
Agreed. Great. One thing that people always ask for, because we sell a lot of sponsorships, is the list. And every once in a while, a client of ours will bend and provide some sort of list, whether it's list for the talks or what have you. So also, I want to throw in there to always ask for the list. The worst thing they could say is no. All right, I added this one. So at trade shows, brochures are out, QR codes are in. There's no reason for you to spend a ton of money on printouts anymore, especially since they are usually out of date by the next show. All right.
I have one thing to add on that, though. I think it depends on where you are.
Yeah, it can.
Because I think I went to India and I had the QR codes and everything, and everyone was like, can I get a printout? I need this printout. Like, can I have something physical to share with them? And so I realized anytime I went to APAC, I printed it because I met a bunch of customers and partners that were like, I'm going to read this physically on the plane. In the US and then in London, I did all QR codes.
Yeah, I also want to chime in on that. I recently have started combining the two ideas that I have my printouts, but my printouts have a QR code. So it can direct them to that certain landing page I want to send them to, and they can choose like, oh, let me just scan this real quick, you take it back. Or let me take the physical piece and then, oh, I want to scan that because I'm being driven to a free trial. And that could get a sign up right there.
Yep. Especially those smaller, like like a 5x7 or something that's just little, and then you could spend a little bit more money on it too if you do want to do it, make it shiny or have like a nice kind of matte feel to it. But yeah, I do agree with that, Ricky. I think it is nice to have something with your QR code on it. Most of the time that ends up in the garbage, but you never know. You just never know. So having something with your QR code on it, I think is good too.
I'm also a big advocate for focusing on the paperweight of that flyer because I feel indirectly it's a perceived value of your company. If it's like very flimsy and like you touch it and it's like gonna melt like tissue paper, you're like, oh, okay, do I even want this? As compared to something that's harder, it's like, okay, cool, this is quality, and it's kind of like indirectly perceiving that quality of the company.
Agreed. And if you're looking for a good printer, we often use Moo. So if you haven't looked into Moo, I would recommend you get an account and just have them send you some samples. All right. Mia, do you want to do this next one? Order early, line 6?
So order early and outsource your items to Amazon, IKEA, etc. if you can. It's almost always cheaper to pick up locally and spend 15 minutes building versus paying Freeman prices. I'm a big advocate for this because even a wastebasket for a trade show is like $50, or those like acrylic brochure stands. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I have like a hand cart, like a small one that I put in my bag so I can ship things to my hotel and just like drag it along with me. So it saves like hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, so I recently showed up to a trade show and Mia had bought a high pub table and it was perfect. It worked great. You wouldn't have even known that she had bought it, and it was 10 times less expensive than renting it from the team or the on-site team. Just be sure you bring a toolkit with you in your bag so you can put your furniture together.
Just as a aside to that, I'm a huge fan of buying stuff at Amazon, Target, IKEA, because I am super cheap with booths. But if you are having stuff shipped, like great, you got it on Amazon for $20. Keep in mind that most events are charging you $50 to $60 to receive that box at the event, or GES, not us, the other GES. They're if you just ship a single box that's over 50 pounds, like a table, if it doesn't come in on a pallet or a crate, they consider that special handling. So we recently ended up paying like $300 to ship 2 gel mats to a booth because of the way the materials handling is. So it can be really cheap, but that's something that you should keep in mind and like weigh the, okay, maybe it would be cheaper to get it from Freeman, or honestly, just spending those $40 on a round trip Uber ride to go to Target is always a solution too.
Yep. You can ship it to your hotel as well. And I think all of us bring one of those carts with us. So if you don't have a cart, Mia, do you want to drop yours in there and maybe find mine too, so they have some options in this chat? That'd be great.
For sure.
And maybe
also a big fan of the collapsible wagons. I think those a lot of times work better than the Uline has a really great one. It's like $80 and it's a little bulkier, but much easier.
Mm-hmm. Maya just asked a really great question. She said, do all events allow you to bring in your furniture? Absolutely not. So you look at what is being provided that you can order, but we are working with a client right now and people are not allowed to bring in any furniture in. So you could simply just ask on a planning call or send them a quick email and just say, are we allowed to bring in our own furniture items? And I wouldn't mention like a table, but maybe something like, like a shelf for swag. Of course, bring the table. But they might raise a red flag if you say, oh, we want to bring in a table or something. Just say, oh, just something simple for swag. And if they say yes, then that means yes, you can bring it in. All right. The next one, number 7, Claire, you want to do that one?
Sure. Require staff to use event sponsored lodging, which is significantly cheaper than other options. Yeah, when there's a big event, they've negotiated a discounted rate at those hotels. So, but they of course sell out. So trying to book early, and I think there might be a mention of that further down just on booking early for hotels, because usually, you can get a fully refundable room or just not have to pay at all up until like a few days before the event. So it's a very low risk thing to go ahead and grab your hotel room early. So
Yeah, definitely. And if you have friends, some people grab an Airbnb and then they share that. I know when we went to Europe, the hotels were wildly expensive. So some folks shared an Airbnb and that worked really nice. It's also safety in numbers too. So again, go to that Event Professionals Network, and usually we have a room for most shows. If we don't have a room, just let me know and I can create it. Some people seem to be able to create rooms and others don't. So I'm not sure why, but if there's not a room for a show created, just let me know and I'll create it for you. So Lauren and Maya had a question for those of you bringing in furniture. What do you do with it post-show? So we leave it. There's usually a donate area and we just leave it in the donate area. And that's it. Okay.
Lisa, if I could chime in real quick.
Sure.
I just want to mention about doing your due diligence about the hotels. At times, it is cheaper to go directly with the event. Other times, it's cheaper to go directly with the hotel. I've had that recently at the Venetian in Las Vegas for a Gartner event. And I'm like, why am I going with the hotel blog? It's cheaper if I just book it directly, saving like $40 a night. So always doing your research is helpful.
Yeah. Oops. I'll add that note in here.
Yeah, my room for reInvent, I just booked it through Orbitz because again, I'm cheap and they give you cash back, and it was like $30 a night cheaper than even the block through reInvent. So
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to do the next one. So more targeted shows instead of larger industry events. So last year was really interesting. I know a lot of you were on our KubeCon review call, but we honestly did not have good luck with some of the larger shows, and some we did. So asking which shows are performing in the Event Professionals Network is super helpful. And I'm realizing we have actually spent quite some time on this because it's already 9:50. So we only have 10 minutes left. I want to get everybody's feedback because you can go ahead and read through these. Do we want to continue to work through trade shows, or do we want to go through any of the other items like swag, user conferences, virtual events? What are your thoughts?
I'd like to hear what people's thoughts are swag. I feel like there's kind of a mega shift since the pandy.
Okay, so we left off there. So if you guys want to on your own time kind of look at that, I think that would be super great. And utilize your team. So let's dive into swag. All right. So there's a trend with a lot of clients right now that they're just skipping swag altogether. I'm going to go ahead and close. Actually, I'm not going to close because that way you guys can't continue adding items. I'll just go like this. There we go. All right. So if you skip, you need some sort of appreciation strategy, like, a really good giveaway plan. A lot of people have been using, gift cards that are used globally. So that's always a great idea. And let's see, Brooke has a question. Oh, Lauren. Yes. Okay. So we are going to do a podcast on swag, but maybe Megan, you and I should do more of like a webinar specifically on swag. That might be more helpful than a podcast.
yeah, I agree. I think a brainstorming, like collaborative session like this for swag would be a lot more helpful.
Yeah.
Mostly because I don't want to do a podcast. Thank you so much.
No worries.
I'd love to add something on swag just briefly that my manager mentioned, that when people tend to come to events, most likely they pick up things for their kids. So it's not necessarily like they don't want to do t-shirts anymore, but so for reInvent, I had these like super cute little wooden planes that had hazel cats at the top. And because it aligned with our demo at Intel, was the flight telemetry demo. And like we had people being like, I want this. I'm gonna make room for this because I want to give this to my kid. So I think any little trinkets that, I mean, that's what worked. I've done t-shirts about all events I've gone to. But I felt that for the last event, I did something small and that worked really well.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agree. We at KubeCon, we had somebody next to us that just had bouncy balls that lit up. And just that one small thing, like everyone was just coming over, which was great for us. But I was like, who knew that light up bouncy balls would be such a hit? All right. So Mia, we haven't heard from you for a little bit. Do you want to do line 3?
Sure. So doing less swag overall and then doing more donation activations. So you're saving on the swag, freight storage, and the manpower. And then you don't have to fly in so early to set up either. I know I folded a lot of t-shirts at reInvent and it took a lot of hours. So that one, I really feel that whoever wrote it down.
Yeah. Always looking at ROI. Good one. All right. Megan, you want to do the next one?
Sorry, it's really small on my screen. Going with smaller items, stickers and pens, less paper products. I definitely recommend that for smaller booths. I think stickers and smaller things stickers especially depend on your brand. Like I've seen if a company has like a fun mascot or something that's really cartoony and creative, stickers are usually a huge hit. But if your stickers are just your company's name, like those aren't always going to go over super well. So it really just depends. With smaller stuff, I see a lot of smaller items just because of the price point. And my overall strategy for swag is be intentional and don't just say, I need 1,000 of these at $3, whatever you can give me. Like we've done that for clients in the past where they're just like, oh, we want 1,000 things that are X price point and you're not getting quality. You're going to, we were just watching people throw them away throughout the event. So unless you're going to spend money to have something that people can actually reuse and it seems intentional, then I would just scrap it altogether.
I want to go ahead and +1 to the quality items. I always, what's the light way to put it? I talk back to my managers when they want to go to a lower quality item. And I'm like, if I wouldn't take it, why would I give it? And I'm also going to add in who I use for stickers and for pins in the chat here, because I really, really like their quality.
I also
So
have
I'm
a quick
gonna get
question. Basically, if you have to choose, have you had success more with like having a really good swag item, let's say like a really nice cork, like water bottle that everybody wants, corksicle or something, versus having, a really big, like winning a bike or winning, a VR set? Which draws more attention and is more successful? I don't know if anybody's ever compared the two.
I have found that the single high quality item seems to drive people to your booth because people are like, where'd you get that? If you have a big drawing, you're going to get like a lot of people, especially if it's like show up at the booth at 4 o'clock to hear the winner. You get a huge draw, but that's a lot of disappointed people.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah. Or you could even just say like if you show up at 4 o'clock, everybody is going to get something and make it little, like, I don't know, a delicious cookie, or I don't know if you could give food away, but something little where everybody wins something if they come at the 4 o'clock, but then somebody does the big prize. I've never done that before, but that might help lessen the sting for not winning.
It's a good idea too.
Yeah.
Drinks.
Drinks.
also
saw
think
the-
if you- Go ahead, Megan.
Oh, with all the sticker mule stuff, I'm gonna get political for a second. Sticker mule is apparently like a pretty big adversary to the LGBTQIA+ community, and they support a lot of unfriendly organizations. So we've been trying to act sticker mule on this side of things. There's other options, Sticker Ninja, Sticker App. Even going local sometimes is an option, but yeah, avoid sticker mule if that's
Did not know that.
your
Thank you
jam.
for telling us.
Yeah, I didn't know either, and I've had a couple people be like, "Oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore." And honestly, in 2022, they screwed up and lost a lot of my orders. So overall, I'm done. But yeah, that's we have the option to make
They
a point
also
with
have
our money.
issues around BLM, and I see right here, I want to highlight it in the chat. Grace mentioned that she left Sticker Mule and went to Sticker App. Grace, do you see like a similar quality? Because I've been trying to find an alternative to Sticker Mule because that's what I currently use.
Be completely honest, I'm trying to kind of find an alternative for Sticker App as well. I've noticed in bulk orders, it's a lot different than smaller orders. For example, reInvent, I think that how Sticker App works is like they laser cut their stickers. And a lot of the stickers that we got at Sticker App, it almost felt like it had like something like a sticky brown residue on the edges, just from the machines. I'm not sure if it was a singular incident with just having that many stickers, but I definitely would recommend them for smaller orders. I think the large quantity that we needed at reInvent, I had to throw away a handful of them, because if you like looked at all of their white paper, there were just like flecks of like dark brown sticky residue. But I did really enjoy Sticker Mule's quality of stickers, but my company went away from Sticker Mule for those political reasons, which absolutely makes sense. 100% supportive of that. But I know that we've looked at other ones like Sticker Ninja as well. But to be completely transparent, that's what my company decided to go with. And that was also just like my experience at reInvent specifically. So not sure if any of you have similar experiences, but I will say how they make their stickers, I just wasn't a huge fan of, at least in that experience.
Interesting. Okay, we are at time, so I want to be respectful. I'm guessing you guys have other meetings. We will share this recording. I will clean up the spreadsheet. I'll also share out all the stats in a more, digestible manner. Feel free to reach out anytime. Again, we're in the Event Professionals Network, so if you need anything, just let us know, and happy planning, and reach out anytime. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Lisa and team.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.